Hey, this is Meridith Elliott Powell, and welcome. It is Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. We're a little early this morning because I've got to jump and do a little bit of traveling, but welcome to A Sales Logic, the show where we dive into the strategies, discuss the steps, everything that you need to know to sell more effectively in today's marketplace. I'm hanging out here with my co-host, Mark Hunter. How you doing this morning, Mark?
I am doing good, watching the sun come up here in Dallas, so we'll eventually get some light here in a bit, but doing great.
Yeah, it is a tad bit early there, right?
It's Saturday. Hey, I've been up for a couple hours. I've already had a chance to work out, so we're good. I got to keep up with you, Mayor.
That's right. That's right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and hit the video. We got a great show going today and lots to discuss. So let's get started.
Prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value. But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
This is Sales Logic. All right, Mark. So before we dive in to today's show, because we've got a great topic, I just want to tell the audience how the show works. We start every single show with a question from you. That's right. You can participate in Sales Logic just by going to saleslogicpodcast.com or emailing Mark or me and just telling us what is on your mind, and we will put you right here on the show. We discuss a hot topic. We highlight a book, and we do a lightning round, making sure that you walk away from return on investment. So, Mark, what is on tap for today?
Well, the topic is one that really is hitting home with everyone: how to sell a price increase. That's the topic we're going to dive into. But first, let's get to the question. The question comes to us from Pauline in Miami. She writes, "We're in the construction industry, and in the last year, we've had a 100% price increase due to materials, demand, and supply chain. My sales team is telling me they cannot sell at that price level because they just can't. And despite the fact that all of their competitors have had major price increases to about the same, help me. We're stuck."
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you that, selling a 100% price increase, that is a large order. But as Mark said at the beginning of this, pretty much everybody out there right now has to sell a price increase. Number one, I would say, is you need to ask yourself if the sales team is resisting selling a price increase, have you taught them how to sell a price increase? Have you gone in and helped them understand that they're not selling price, they're selling return on investment? So they're selling the risk that people would have if they didn't buy the product or service from you. And they're selling the value that they're going to gain from getting the product from you. If your team is resisting selling a price increase, it's because your team is really selling on price. And so you need to back up there and ask yourself, what have we done to train the team, to help the team first understand why the price increase is there? Okay, you need to do that. But more importantly, I don't want the sales team going in and explaining a price increase. I want the sales team going in and feeling confident about what they're selling and what it's going to return.
Well, we've just ended the show right there because you just said it all right there. So good. Anyway, hey, let's kind of build on this some more, because there's several pieces that come into play. First of all, you don't ask your customers for a price increase. You tell them what the price is. If you ask them, you're inviting them to say, "Oh, I don't want to accept that." No, you tell them this is what the price is. Here's the whole situation. Pauline, you really got to ask yourself. You've seen prices go up on everything. Your people have seen prices. People are conditioned for price increases. There's been a tremendous amount of news and tremendous amount of things, the whole building supply chain. Yeah, I'm in the process of trying to buy a house. I know what it's like. So yes, people are conditioned to it. Don't run from it. because everyone else is going, here's what you are selling, Pauline. This is what you're selling. And go back to this whole return on investment. It's also, hey, this is what the price is today. Wait a couple of weeks and it could easily be higher. And you have to understand, what is the customer looking for? And there's a piece that, well, I'll kind of save a little idea for later on in the show.
Okay. I like to call it, this is really going to date me, but I like to call it the Paul Harvey. There's, I don't know if you remember Paul Harvey.
No, I don't. I don't remember Paul Harvey at all. Oh, the rest of the news. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, the rest of the story.
Oh, the rest of the story. See, there you go.
Yeah. So if you're old enough to remember Paul Harvey, if you grew up with parents listening to talk radio, Paul Harvey used to tell a story in the way that it would bait you to stay until the end. And at the last commercial break, he would say, come back and I'll tell you the rest of the story. And it was the part of the story that would really pull you in or surprise you or do something like that. And I think when we sell a price increase, we need to sell the Paul Harvey. I'll give you a quick example. I'm a former banker, and a lot of times my clients ask me about banking deals that they've got when I go in to do a coaching session with them. And I went in to meet with a client of mine who was getting ready to buy his building. And he had two proposals on his desk from two different financial institutions. One financial institution had a really good interest rate. They did not require an appraisal, and they had cut any fees or anything going with it. And the other one had a higher interest rate. They required an appraisal, and all of their fees were intact. And he jokingly said, look at these deals and tell me which one you would go with. Well, I looked at both deals, and I know he thought I was going to go with the less expensive one. But when I got in there and I looked at it and I said, Paul, do you need 15 years to pay this loan off? And he said, absolutely. I said, both have a call at 5 years. And if you thought about the fact that this one that has a lower interest rate, doesn't require an appraisal, that they've merged and been acquired 4 times in the last 6 years. You don't know anybody. You couldn't get the president or anybody in senior leadership on the phone if you got in any kind of financial trouble. And I said, I wouldn't trust a financial institution that wanted me to spend $2.5 million for a piece of property that I wasn't willing to do an appraisal on to even make sure it was worth that. So in other words, I sold the rest of the story. I sold why the price increase matters. And that's where you have to go back to. You have to understand what it is that you're really selling, because peace of mind to that particular client was incredibly important.
That is so true. And, think about that. He wasn't buying a 15-year loan. He was buying a 5-year loan, because if it's a 5-year call and interest rates go up, they're going to call that loan.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So, again, this is understanding what is your risk? What are your expectations? And come back to this whole thing with Pauline. This is what I find so fascinating. Pauline, you got to condition your people. And this is one of the ways that we talk about how do you sell a price increase. We're going to be drifting into the topic here. You really have to set yourself up for a price even higher. It really is conditioning the mind. One of the things that I tell people how to make an offer is you present the ultimate offer. You present the absolute highest offer. I'll never forget my daughter when she was dating a gentleman who became her husband. They walked into a Coach store, and my wife and I were with her, and my daughter walked over and saw this unbelievable Coach purse that she wanted, and it was like $350. Well, her boyfriend was a public school teacher. That means he had no money. And my wife wanted to say, oh, why don't we buy her the purse? And I said, no, we're not. We're going to see what this kid is made of. We're going to see right here what this kid's made of. And it was absolutely fascinating, but she held the purse up and showed it to Andrew, and you could tell Andrew just freaked out. It's like, that's more disposable income than he had in 6 months.
Right.
They suddenly put the purse down, stepped back, and then they saw right below this $350 purse, about $120 purse. They picked it up and they both looked at it. Andrew was pleased and proud to buy her a $120 purse. Now, that was more than he was willing to spend, but it was a bargain compared to what it was framed up against. And oh, by the way, they're married today.
Yeah. So, first of all, I mean, I think that Mark is making such a great point, and I know we're drifting into the topic here, so we might as well just go, is that the salespeople have to feel confident. And if they don't think they can sell a price increase, it's because they don't understand the value of the price increase. And so you've got to really stop being frustrated with your salespeople and really ask yourself, have I gone back in there and helped them understand? Have I role modeled this? Have I positioned it really well? Because it is a myth that people will not pay money for things. Everybody does. I mean, whatever is your passion. So Mark, that leads to another great thing, is that you have to make sure if you're selling a price increase, you're selling to the right customer, right?
Oh.
Because there are certainly aspects of my life where I'm cheap. I'm not going to pay something for something, but like my country club membership where I play golf, that's really worth it to me. And other people might think that's a ridiculous expense.
You would pay everything under.
I would pay everything
to play golf, because that's. But see, this comes back to this understanding the value. Now, let's talk about this in terms of a price increase. Price increase. So you're already selling to this customer, and now you're asking them for a price increase. You have to remember, what is the cost of conversion? What is the cost of conversion? And there's a factor in there that people will automatically accept a price increase because the cost of conversion just isn't worth it. I was in the store the other day and I can't remember what I know. I was picking up some meat. I was picking up some steaks, but hey, it's okay. I wanted these steaks. I wanted to grill these steaks, and I was going to go ahead and pay more. It didn't. The cost of converting to some other choice for the meal I wanted to prepare, it just wasn't there. Mm-hmm. See, so you have to understand, it comes back to that value that customers, and that frames up what I call PTR, price tolerance ratio. Everybody has a price tolerance, as long as it's within this span. I walked into Starbucks the other day, and they took another price increase. Wow. Mm-hmm. But you know what? I still got my grande coffee, because I have to have my coffee a lot.
Well, I mean, that's such a great example about the importance of knowing your target market. Like, I don't go to Starbucks because it's like in a hotel. I've got friends that will not drink hotel coffee because hotel coffee is bad. I drink hotel coffee because it's free, and I don't go to Starbucks because, I'm not that passionate about coffee. You are so passionate about coffee and you want good coffee. So you'll go to Starbucks. You really have to understand who you're selling to, because to try to convince me to pay $5 for a cup of coffee, I'm just not going to do it. So really understanding, understanding who you're selling to. At the same time, there are things you can easily convince me to pay money for. So again, you've got to understand who you're selling to, and is what you're selling of value to them.
See, I'll pay more for the cup of coffee, but I'll play less for the round of golf.
Exactly, right.
Pay more for the round of golf.
Right. It's about, I was going to dinner with some friends, and my girlfriend walked out and she had this amazing pair of shoes on, and I asked her where she got them. And Rob and I got home from dinner. I Googled it, and she paid $600 or $700 for a pair of shoes. I would never do that, but I have things that I would easily pay what other people think is ridiculous. I mean, if Rob knew what I paid to get my hair cut, and if I knew what he paid for his boat, we wouldn't have a happy marriage.
I don't even want to know what you paid for your driver or your putter.
That's right. Exactly.
So you go. Right. But see, this comes back to understanding the value. See, what happens many times is that salespeople struggle with the price increase because they don't see themselves buying the product. They don't see themselves using it. And that creates a real disconnect. You see, what you have to understand is it comes down to the value, the service that customer is going to receive from it. That's the price they're willing to pay. And go back to this example of this purse, go back to this, all the other examples we've been talking about. If you frame it up higher, if you frame it up that the price should even be even higher, technique that I love to tell salespeople is when you're trying to get used to a new price increase, you take your price list and you put even a 50% higher price on there, and write that down. 50% or 25%, whatever it is. And then you write that and you keep that in front of you. Now, that's not the price you quote, but that's the price you think it should be. And it's amazing how it's the mindset begins to, and suddenly you are more confident in the ability. I believe firmly that more discounts are given because the salesperson fails to believe in the price than are given based on the demands of the customer, period.
Yeah. You really need to, this is a great exercise to do with your sales team, or if you're a single operator, more like Mark and I are single operators, get together with a couple of your buddies and just make a list as to why your price is worth it. Why would somebody pay more? Both Mark and I are professional speakers, and people all the time say, wow, you have to pay that for a speaker. And I was speaking in an event where it was all industry speakers. I was the only professional speaker, and my nephew happened to be at the event with me. He wasn't 14 or 15 at the time. And after I stepped off stage, he goes, okay, now I get it. Now I understand why you hire a professional speaker, because he'd been sitting there listening to industry speakers bore the heck out of him. And when all of a sudden he saw the art and the craft in it, then it made sense to him.
Right. Because, initially you say, wow, we get paid an unbelievably huge hourly rate. Yeah, we do. But it's the outcome that we create. This is what you have to understand. Pauline, this is when your people are building homes for people, that's a home that they're going to live in for years and years to come. The additional price that they have to pay now is a one-time event. One-time event. Sure, it may go into the mortgage. I get that. But you know what? It really becomes a one-time event. But the satisfaction is a lifetime experience. That's the kind of quote. We'll go back in time. We'll quote Zig Ziglar on that one. How's that sound?
That sounds good. All right, you ready to roll into the book?
Yeah, we should talk about the book. Introduce the book.
Yeah, so the book is Relevant Selling by Janie Smith. And I had the opportunity to hear Janie Smith speak on Thursday. And these are great books. She has a whole suite of about 3 or 4 books that really talk about competitive advantage, about understanding and knowing what your competitive advantage is. And the staggering statistics of how few business owners, CEOs, sales teams really understand their competitive advantage. I mean, most of us say things like customer service is our competitive advantage, or our people are our competitive advantage. And in the words of Janie, that means blah, 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 because everybody's stating that. In other words, what are you really, really getting if somebody chooses to do business with you? And in her book, she really argues that if you understand your competitive advantage, you take price off the table.
Okay, you sold me. I'm going to buy the book.
Yeah, all of her books are a great read. She does a lot of her own research, and much of her work is voice of the customer. So if you're looking for somebody to go out and talk to your customers and really understand what the issues and what the problems are, Janie puts out. But we'll put this in the show notes. Can't recommend enough.
Great. Hey, you ready for the lightning round?
I am.
Okay. Top 10 ways to sell risk and value. Go.
Number 1, you have to understand what the risk is of not doing business with you and what the value people gain. So you have to learn that first.
Take the price and put it into time. Money and time are 2 equivalent factors. And it's amazing how you can create more value by shortening the time.
Craft the story and the case study where you're going to be able to show the customer what doing business with you is going to gain them, just like I did with you with the bank. When you craft it in a story and help them understand the Paul Harvey, you're going to sell risk and value.
In the absence of value, price is everything. You have to ask yourself, have I created value for my customer?
Are you focused on somebody who is willing to pay the price? Is solving it, is the pain point big enough for them? Is the urgent need big enough for them? So assess who you're selling to. And if it's the right fit, keep going. If it's the wrong fit, move on to somebody else who will help you.
You have to go into the transaction with extreme confidence. And it means realizing and understanding the value and the outcomes that you've created for previous customers who line up similar to the one you're talking to today.
Yeah. Be able to create that list and share that list. I mean, really make a nice document as to all the extra things that people gain from doing business with you and paying that price. You have to understand that they will default to price if price is all they feel you offer. It's not their job to understand all the little extras that come with those things. So you need to be ready to share that information.
Never forget, price is a one-time experience. Value lasts a lifetime.
All right, I'll share one more, and you share one more. Do work on your own mindset. If it is the energy that they are buying from you, and you have to feel confident. You have to feel confident in what you're offering. You have to believe in what you're offering. So start with yourself. It's going to turn everything.
You never ask the customer what the price is. You tell them what the price is, and then you frame it with silence, and you do not interrupt them, because the first person who speaks is going to lose. Hey, with that, we should say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, consider telling a friend about our show. It's how we grow to help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
All right. We will see you back here next week, 9 a.m. Eastern, for another episode of Sales Logic. Go out and close a few deals.